Good morning and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to create a book nook. I've been feeling inspired to make my own, and so today we're going to do that. So the first steps we're going to do is collect all the parts and pieces I have from my stockpile of supplies. Most of them are from the dollar store. I have these wooden squares from the dollar store that make up the length of the scene, and then this watercolor paper I've drawn on the sort of center frame. I'm doing a front piece, a middle little frame to break up the scene, and then there will be a back wall. Here you can see I'm just taking this little flower emblem, and I also have some mushroom emblems, and I'm going to put a little bit of foil. The flower had green and these mushrooms will have sort of this bronze color. The mushrooms are just going to be beside one of the scenes, and these little flowers are actually going to be for a light fixture. Here you can see I've attached the little dowels that I cut down and attached them onto the foil with a circle. This will be part of a light fixture. So next you can see this paper I have drawn on the back frame to go at the very back of the scene. It's going to be part of the housing for the light fixture so I can turn it on and off easily. And then next I have drawn out the side of the scene or the book nook, and I gave a little edge. It almost looks like a little casing so that I can put the street scenes in. Here are 3 rectangular watercolor papers that I'm going to put each one of the signs, the awnings on the street scene. So there's a bakery, a bookstore, and a laundromat. And then I made a little sort of like flag or banner and a little potted plant that sort of color coordinate and match with each one of those storefronts. So here, the middle, this is the clock that is going to be built in the center because I have a front and then a center thing to sort of break up the street scenes, and then a back housing. So you can see I've just drawn it on, cut it down with my X-Acto knife, and the flower is the center of the clock. I later will add arms to that to sort of give it more detail. Here you can see I've added the middle scene to the one wall, and that's as far as I go until almost the end. Here I am starting on the first of the storefronts. So this is for the laundromat. I drew out these little staircases. The great thing about color paper, is it is strong enough to fold and keep its shape. So this is the little storefront, and then you can see the staircase I've built. And these little wooden sort of like houses were little bird houses from the dollar store. And I just took off the parts that like attach to make an actual little birdhouse or whatever and sanded it down so they looked nice, and then I've just stacked them so that they are a little storefront that like sort of blends into the wall. So that is most of the first one made. Here you can see I've put up the other side so you'll see how it will look when it's all completed. But I keep that one side off a lot because if it's up, then there's like very hard to get my hand in there. So I keep that wall off almost until I'm at the lighting and near the very end. Here you can see I am just placing the different parts that will make the next storefront. I really just went back and forth until I loved how it looked. And sometimes I even thought I totally knew how it would look. And near the end, I changed it up a little. Kind of depends how the lighting will be affixed and what I want the door to look like. I also have added behind these windows, you can see there's like, you can see through the windows. I often added like a white piece of cardstock behind there so that you felt like you were looking into the store with a painted wall, not just an empty wall, just to give it some more depth. Here you can see I've made another lighting fixture, and I'm just hemming and hawing about where to affix it. And it sort of depends as I put the potted plants and the whole scene comes together. That's sort of how it's going. So here I am adding the green foil. I wanted to give it sort of the impression that the scene continued on, maybe to a park. I'm adding a potted plant here, and there's also that little bench. So that last storefront in the back is a bakery, and it's sort of on an angle with a set of stairs, and I wanted to give the impression that the scene continues on. So I thought the green foil really did the trick. Then I've also added it to this housing because that's going to be the front piece that goes on the previous part that I showed you. Right here you can see it's more of a little encasing, and that's where we're going to put the like box to turn the lights on and off. So you can see here I've attached it. Now there's like the park continuing on in the background. So next up is doing more of the bakery and the bookstore storefronts. So the bakery took me a lot more to hem and haw because that one's on an angle to sort of give it the depth that it turns a corner. So I really had to play with it to see that I could make a building that sat sideways and still had the same look that the other storefronts did. Whereas the bookstore has more of the one that the laundromat does, where it's more flat against the wall, so there was less trouble with that. Here, these little circles are going to be chairs, and these little leaves are going to be a table that's going to sit outside of the bookstore, just like that, with the little puppy. Again, by the end, you'll see I've changed it a little bit, but that is the like thought process so far. It all just changes and evolves as I work on it. Here's a little potted plant that I've built. I just used fake flowers from the dollar store and glued it down into the pot, and then I added some fake moss from the dollar store. You can see me here, I cut off sections and attached it to the little wire. I just used jewelry wire for the main part of the plant. And then here you can see the jewelry wire that I've used to go through the little banners for each one of the storefronts. I just wanted them to all sort of tie together with their little emblems that sort of match the lighting fixture and the banners and the signs. I just think it looks cute when they all tie together that way. So here you can see me putting on the flooring. It often takes me quite a while to do the flooring because I'm just wanting everything to match before I do something permanent. Here you can see me putting on that back section, and I've cut a door so this little black housing can easily fit in and out, so I'm able to change the batteries and turn it on and off without wasting tons of the battery forever. Here are my two red and white or black wires that I'm going to match with the white and gray. The lighting is always a bit of the bane of my existence, so just seeing that it's fit well underneath, that it's not so visible but still accessible for when I want to actually do the wiring. I'm loving the progress to date. Again, you'll see the plants and the like little bench move around as I just keep working with it. Now I'm putting on this little fencing I had left over from another project. I always like to save it to utilize for the next one. I really think that comes together really cute, adds that element to the stairs that is needed. And you can see that that first lighting has been on there. So I've just added a little light to the green part underneath the lighting. See, here's the next one ready to go. That one sort of moves from the bakery eventually to the bookstore because it just felt like it was suited better, but you'll see as we progress along. I've also put these sort of leaf arms on the clock to give it that more realism of it being a clock. Here you can see I was cutting off the extra little notches that made them birdhouses or whatever it made, and then I just sanded it smooth and put paper behind so that it gave the impression of being in a room, not just blankly seeing through. Here I'm making the corner because, like I said, I wanted the bakery to have sort of a corner look as it went through the Booknook scene. Here you can see me hemming and hawing trying to decide how to add the front door, but because it's now a curve and not a flat spot, I actually had to recreate the door. So now I've put that one on the bookstore instead, and I've redone a smaller door. I put some bronze behind the heart and a little door frame, and I'm using this little gem as the doorknob. I love how that little door turned out, and now to decide where I want the staircase to fall on the building and where I want the little banner to hang on the door on the edge. So you can see me hemming and hawing there. I do like how that turned out. Looks super good. So now to mount the stairs, I decided on the back side looked best and the little door. And then now to place it in the back of the scene. So you can see here I took away the walls so it's easier to work on the back of the Booknook. So I'm putting it right up against that back sort of like park wall. And then I've also in the corner attached the little plant, and then I put the little bench in front of it. Now you can see I'm doing the other back side so I can attach it and it makes it enclosed. Loving the progress. Here I'm coming up against the evil lighting in a minute. So I've added the little menu sign. I love how that's come together. So next we'll be adding the door of the bookstore. You can see here I'm contemplating the wiring. So I'm going to attach the white to the red and the gray to the black. I do have to strip the wires a little bit, which is always tricky without like actually cutting the wire, and then the housing here, I just did a little hole punch through the watercolor paper so that it could easily go through without bending and getting stuck. And then here I'm going to do the wiring next. I keep saying it because it's such a momentous task, but I always love it when it's done. Just adds such a awesome element. So this next step is adding some more green foil to the other side to match the whole back of the scene. And then I added blue foil to on top of the laundromat and on top of the bookstore to give the front more of a sky scene. So I love how that foil adds to it. So here you can see I've attached the wires and I've wrapped electrical tape. And then you can see success. The lighting has worked. Always my favorite part. If not, just a lot to change it, but it's perfect. So now I'm holding up the other wall so I can see how it looks when it's enclosed. It looks great. I am not going to put up that wall until I'm almost done because, like I said before, so hard to maneuver inside of the Booknook once that final wall is up. So I have to place all the other parts. I had fixed the menu board, and then when I'm sure everything is just right, I put up that wall and I secure it with hot glue. I've also added a little sort of window at the top of the bakery there. I just love how that's turned out. So my next thing will be adding the little table and chairs and the puppy dog. And I also add the mushrooms, but here first I'm making the frame of the front. So I just want to like finish it off. So there I've cut it out and I've added gold foil to it, and I will be making a roof afterwards as well. Just loving how that looks, especially with the glow up. Okay, so now I've done the exterior. Some people make their Booknooks look like a book, and that's cool. I've just decided that this sort of gold scrapbooking paper worked with all my other colorings, and I just encased it with that. I left it open so again I could change out the batteries or turn it on and off. Now I'm making the roof. I just used the same watercolor paper and cut 2 triangles to match. Then I cut these sides. I just measured it and cut how big I wanted them to be and made them match. Then I used plastic from just a container that I had that had plastic front, and then some of this rainbow film that you can put on windows. It just gives it a really pretty look when it looks through and the rainbows shine through. So there's the finished roof. I love how it's turned out. I hope you try yourself. You can either buy a kit off Amazon, or you can do like me and buy dollar store supplies and just see what your creativity comes up with. So I hope you enjoyed watching, and I'll see you next time. Also, if you enjoyed this video, feel free to hit like and subscribe to see more content like this.